Hey, what's up, Good Life? Got a couple things to accomplish in today's 128 moment. First, a couple of housekeeping items. Thanks to everyone who joined us yesterday, whether in person or online. It was so awesome to be able to rally around the against all odds mission that God has placed before us, to the people in the book of Acts and to us 2,000 years later. So encouraging to hear how God will not let his mission fail, and all he calls us to do is to be obedient. So hopefully you're able to join us yesterday. If you weren't, make sure you reserve a seat or join us online for the 28th. The seat reservations are live right now, so make sure you go ahead and get that taken care of. Looking back to last week in one of our 128 times, we talked about how the early church, when they were faced with persecution, that they turned to prayer. And they weren't asking for prayer for relief. They weren't asking for prayer for safety. They were asking for prayer for boldness. And that's been the clarion call of the persecuted church throughout history, that this desire in their hearts to be bold in the face of adversity, no matter what obstacles come against them, that it will not deter them or distract them from the calling that God has placed in their life. And so I want to bring before you, Good Life Church, two opportunities for us to join with our brothers and sisters who are proclaiming the gospel or experiencing persecution around the world. The first one is this. We have a young man who's a member of the Good Life Church family, grown up in the Good Life Church family, and he's a missionary in Southeast Asia right now. He's back in the States this summer. He's getting married and then going to be heading back. But he has asked for prayer. We support him, but he's asked for prayer for us to lift him up, that their visa process, especially in light of the COVID-19 restrictions, will go smoothly and they will be able to get back into the country where God has called them to serve. Seeing great progress there of people hearing the good news, responding to the good news, and we just want to come around and support them, not just monetarily, but we want to support them in prayer, that God will give them boldness and provision in terms of their visa process. The second one is this. We have a family that's in our church. They are returned from the mission field. They spent a lot of time in Siberia planting a church there. I think over 12 years they were there, seeing great fruit, translating the Bible into the native language there. Some really incredible stories. But I want to share one story with you right now. At the age of 16, there was a young lady in that community who surrendered her life to Christ. She was 16 years old. Her name is Adelina. And she, on her own, we used to sneak out and come be a part of the Bible studies that are there. And over time, the Lord called her to salvation. Well, fast forward from her time of conversion to now. She's now 17 years old, and she's been told by her father, who is not a believer, that if she does not recant her faith, he's going to kick her out of the house. She has nowhere to go, no other family to turn to. And so we as a church family, thousands of miles away, we want to rally around her in prayer. That God will give her boldness, that God will give her provision, that God will make a way for her to be faithful in this moment, that God will also protect her, and that God will give her opportunities to reflect Christ even in the midst of this very hard time. Perhaps God's moving her into another direction where he can use her in a mighty way, but we just want to rally around this young lady who is facing persecution that we're not facing. We talked yesterday about our tendency to wilt when comfort and prosperity are threatened. But here we have a young lady who is boldly clinging to Christ in the midst of incredible persecution, not just from forces around her and from government entities, but from her own flesh and blood. You know what my prayer is in this process is that through this process, somehow Adelina's father will come to know Christ. That God will use even the circumstance to melt hearts and to change lives, and that the gospel will meet that moment thousands of miles away, but meet it in a way where we can give the glory to God. So if you would, Good Life, today and this week, let's rally around those two prayer requests, being a part of the global mission that God has called us to be a part of, to make disciples and to be witnesses to all nations. Love you guys, miss you guys, and we'll see you on Wednesday at 128.